So I've had a lovely weekend back at home. I've done absolutely nothing today. I've not done any of my podcasts. I've not done any work I need to do. I've also not done any of my car video, which is now 2 weeks late. But I don't regret any of that because I feel really, really good. I think you do need weekends where you just chill out and take a little bit of a rest, take a little bit of a break. I've slept most of today as well. Last week for me, I think I overdid it. I had a couple of videos where I looked absolutely horrible. So I'm going to sort of try and tone it down a little bit. There's just 10 days left of this challenge. And at the end of the 10 days, I'm going to be pleased it's over. I'm not too sure that putting yourself through daily videos when you've also got a full-time job is particularly helpful for anything. So I'm getting ever closer to my 30 days without spending any money. So I actually get paid in 5 days' time, and instead of starting when this challenge ends, I'm going to start it on payday, otherwise I'm going to end up spending all the money in the first few days. So when I get paid, I'm going to start the no spending challenge. My mum has said I won't last a week and I will break on food, and my sister has said I'll only last 3 days, so thank you for the support, both of you. In preparation for this, I also started watching this guy called Chris Ramsey on YouTube after browsing Reddit's personal finance. Essentially, it's an American radio show where people call Dave Ramsey and talk about their financial struggles, if they're in debt, and they're really open about it. And the way he approaches each problem is very black and white. It's very simple. It's pay off your debts, live within your means, and start saving every single penny you can. And the only way you can build wealth is to not take out any more debts and to clear all the debts you currently have. And if that means living off pot noodles and whatever for however long, you have to do that. So the new plan of action is when I get paid on Friday, I'll do 30 days from January 26th to February 26th and do that whole 30 days without spending any money. So do let me know how you think I'll get on in the challenge. And if you've got any ground rules, anything I should be allowed, I shouldn't be allowed, let me know those as well. So thank you for getting this far along in the video. And as a treat, I'm going to tell you about my new business idea. As you all probably know by now, I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I listen to so many of them. I make a few of them. And last night I was watching a video from Stephen Bartlett. I'll leave the link to the video in the description. And he essentially said that podcasting is a new video, or audio is a new video. And his agency, Social Chain, they want to position as the podcasting agency. And it made me think, I love making podcasts. I love podcasts. I'm passionate about them. Why not start my own podcasting agency? But I will have a specific niche of just making podcasts. Now, I'm no audio expert by any means, but I definitely feel that I can help out people or businesses that want to start a podcast get going. I started writing down a few notes. You probably can't see that. But essentially, I'm thinking of 3 sort of plans, and one plan is going to be the main one. So you've got plan 1, which is sort of the pure consultancy, and that is someone who's starting out a podcast. They want sort of the overall strategy, they want a recommendation of what gear they need, they want to know how they're going to publish it, the logistics, and also a marketing plan. They're going to take control of the actual production. They just need that strategic guidance of what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. And then I've got the second plan, which is purely production and editing. This I don't see as a huge part, but that's people who they've got a podcast they're doing, or they're just starting one, they've got all their marketing, they've got all their plan in place, but what they want is just someone to take the already recorded podcast, edit it, publish it, distribute it, or maybe they want someone to come in and record it, they want a studio to come into to record it, they then want them to edit, produce, publish. So there's sort of different levels of the production, but you can choose based on what you need. Then the final plan, and the plan I feel that I want to focus on most, because it is where a lot of people are going to be coming from, and that's the start from scratch. So people or businesses who have never done podcasting before, but they're seeing how much it's blowing up and they want to completely start a new one. They're not too sure on the idea, they're not too sure on the format, they don't know what the art's going to be, they have no branding, they're not sure about their audience. So what I want to do with this start from scratch plan is sort of break it down into a few sections. You've got the first section, which is like your pre-production. It's your what's the idea, what format is it going to be, who's your audience, which format suits which audience, What industry are you in? What are the other podcasts? Who are your competitors? And sort of your frequency. How often are you going to be posting this podcast? And then from then, we're going to sort of go into the real pre-production, the building out the actual strategy for the podcast. Do you have marketing copy? Do you want a website? Do you need socials? What's the name going to be? What about your podcast art, the branding? And then what's your value prop? Why do people actually want to listen to the podcast? Then moving on to the actual production, the next section, you will need to get your logistical stuff sorted. If you've got a podcast where you've got guests coming on, you need to have a way that you're actually going to entice guests to come on. Are you going to pay them? Are you going to just use your network to get people on your podcast who are more than happy to do it just for a little bit of exposure? What gear are you going to use for the podcast? What do you need? Are you looking for stuff that's cheap and cheerful but is quick? Are you going to do a Skype interview where you're not going to be in person? Are you going to go for sort of the mid-level quality, or are you going to go for the top-notch quality, the best you can get, and really fork out on really producing this podcast as well as you can? Are you going to rent the gear? Are you going to buy the gear? Do you need a studio? And then also in that production, you've got the editing. And then you've got the post-production, which is sort of the final aspect of it. It is your publishing, it's your show notes. Do you want timeframes? What links do you want in? Do you need that podcast transcribed? And then you sort of go into the whole extra section, which is marketing and promotion. I've not really filled that out too much, but the marketing and promotion will be, do you have social accounts that you're going to promote it from? Are you going to put paid media? Is this podcast to attract sponsors so you can start making money out of it? Sort of what is the goal of the podcast and how are we going to market to your potential audience? So that is pretty much everything you need to know about my new business idea. The final thing is I need a name for it. The name options I've got, they're pretty bad, but just go with me for now. Podcast 2020, The Podcast People, The Podcast Agency, Power of Audio, we make podcasts. Now, those are just some thoughts at 3 a.m, but let me know some of your ideas for what you would call a podcast agency or a podcast production house. It doesn't have to have the word podcast in it, but I would kind of like it. Anyway, that is pretty much it from me today. Another long one. If you did enjoy it, leave it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you tomorrow.